Okay, so what we're doing on this chapter is we're comparing distributions. So we've already learned how to make histograms, stem and leaf, and box plots, but now we're going to talk about what we're going to do with them when we're comparing two different distributions. One thing that's really important here is when comparing them, you have to use comparison words. Comparison words. So like larger, smaller, things like that. If you don't compare with those words, then you're going to lose some points. If they're both symmetric, remember you're going to describe them using the mean and the standard deviation. If they're both skewed, you're going to use median and IQR. And then lastly, if one is skewed as one symmetric, you're still going to use median and IQR. There is something in each year I teach stats, I learned something a little different. There is one thing that I want to make sure that I saw the other day, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to use, for box plots, we're always going to use IQR and median. I think originally I might have said mean and standard deviation if it looks roughly symmetric, but really we can't tell if it's unimodal. And so we're just going to use the IQR and median because it's there. All right, so when you make histograms, highlight these three different things. When you make histograms, the important thing to do is that you have to have matching axis, and you have to have the same bins. So if one bin goes by 8, the other bins have to go by 8. You can't make one bin go by 8 and one set of bins go by 10. Okay, so stem and leaf. What happens for this one is the stem is in the center, and you have leaves that go to each side. And so this one over here would go this way. So you can kind of see what happens. And so this one, if I turn my screen, this is going to be unimodal and skewed to the right. This one on the left would probably, I would probably consider that one bimodal. Okay. And remember, you have to include the key. You don't have to include the key for both. You could still just include the key for one. So 1/2 is equal to 12. Okay, when you do box plots, it's really important still for box plots that you're going to draw one axis. You label the big number and the small number, and then you do halfways in between. We don't want to see all these other random numbers. We want to have consistent tick marks. Okay, when you do a box plot, when I'm going to be, and your plot doesn't have to match mine exactly. The things that I'm going to look for is that if this is group A, first of all, you do have to label it group A, group B. But let's say group A's max is 20 while group B's max is 18. I'm going to look to make sure that group B's max is higher. Let's say they have the same quarter 3, so I'm going to make sure that they line up here. Let's say that group B's median's a little bit bigger, but its quarter 1 is the same. So I'm going to look to see how they are relating to each other. If one's supposed to be a little bigger, it's a little bit further to the right. And then we'll say that this is supposed to go to 10. Okay? So I'm looking to see that if they're supposed to be the same, like right here, quarter 3 for both of these was supposed to be 15, I can tell that they're in the same spot. Quarter 1 for both of them are supposed to be in the same spot, and I can tell they're both at around 11 or 12. Okay? Okay, so what we're going to do here now is we're going to describe this and compare the two histograms using socks. And remember, we have to make sure that we have the context. Okay? I'm going to type it because it'll be nicer and not as messy. So hold on one second. So it's really good to start these with still saying the distribution of. And so this is average wind speed in spring and summer versus fall and winter. So the, oops, it's a really small font, the average wind speed for fall, winter, and spring, summer are both, I would say that both of these are unimodal and skewed to the right. Unimodal and skewed to the right. If you look over here on the left, it doesn't really look like spring, summer has any outliers. Like these ones past 4 might, but we're not exactly sure. But definitely in this fall, winter, there's an outlier past 8. The fall, winter distribution has an outlier around, what is that? Probably 8.4 with a gap between 6.2 and 8.4. Okay. If spring and summer doesn't have one, you could just add that on. Spring and summer do not appear. Spring, summer does not appear to have any outliers. Okay, so what we've done is we have talked about our shape and we've talked about our outliers. Now we have to talk about our center. And because we said these are skewed, we're going to have to use the median. And we're going to have to use IQR for spread. Okay, so let's kind of figure out how many number of days. So this one's about 15, 50, 43, I don't know, 29, 22, 9, 8, 5, and then maybe these are all ones. So let's figure out, and then you guys try it for the second one so we can try and estimate where our medians are. Okay, so I counted up and I got 184 here and I got about 178 here. Give or take a few, it's okay if we're off. And so 184 divided by 2 is 92. So that tells me my median is right in this bin right here. This is my median bin. Now, one thing I did notice is that I forgot that these were counting from 0 to 2. And so there's 4 of them. So in between, that's 1. And so like right here, this is 0.5. This is 1.5. So that means I should probably change these numbers. This is probably, this bin right here goes to 6.5. And this one right here goes to 8.5. So those numbers down here I need to try and change. So let's see if it will let me change it. No, I'm just going to write over it. Maybe not. Hold on. Okay, so I was able to change them. So I said there was a gap between 6.5 and 8.5. Oops, screaming goats on. Okay, so I lost track, but here we go. We're between 6.5 and 8.5. Oh, and I should change this to 8.5. And again, they're just estimates. So right here, I'm saying my median is at about 1.25, somewhere in there. So maybe 1.25. And if you said anything between 1 and 1.5, you'd be good. This median here is right in this one. It's right on the edge. So I would say that one's at 2.5. But here's the thing that's important. Remember that when you're comparing distributions, you have to use comparison words. So the most important thing that I say is I'm going to say the median for the fall, winter is larger at 2.5 miles per hour compared to spring, summer at about 1.25. And I should say larger at about. Okay. And again, you have to have this word. If you do not have a comparison word, it's wrong. You have to use comparison words. Okay. And so now let's figure out where our center is for our IQR, quarter 1 and quarter 3. And so I'm going to divide that by 2, and that's 46. So quarter 1 is in this bin somewhere. So I'm going to say for this one, quarter 1 is at about 0.75. And then now I'm going to count up 46. So 3, 8, 16, 25 plus 22. So, and then quarter 3 is in this bin somewhere. So quarter 3 we'll say is about 2.25. So if you subtract those, that IQR is 1.5. Let's make sure I did my math right. Yep. And then over here, same idea. I'm going to split this in two. And so that's going to be about 44. So quarter one's about in here. And so that's at about, I'm going to say that one's at about 1.75. And then quarter three, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 17, 25. Say 25 plus 18, we're getting there. Is right in here. And so that one, here's 3 right here. So quarter three is at about 3.25. And so the IQRs look like they're almost the same, which doesn't seem right. Let's see, what did we do wrong? Hold on, let me double check something. So the reason I was thinking it's different is because this one on the right, fall, winter, does have a much bigger spread because it goes all the way to this outlier. But the IQRs are about the same. But because the spread, the overall spread of fall and winter is much more spread out, like it goes all the way past 6 and with an outlier up near 9, we're going to talk about that. Okay, so both fall, winter, and spring, summer have similar, so we can bold that word, similar IQRs of about 1.5. The overall spread of fall, winter is much larger than spring, summer. And what you could do here is you could include the range, and the range is something that's the max minus the min. I don't really include range that often, but because this graph goes far to the right, is so much bigger, I want to be able to describe that. And so let's see. So the range for this one is what, about 8.75 minus 0.5, so 8.25, versus this one, which is 5.5 minus 0. So even though their middle 50%, which is the IQR, is about the same, the overall spread of fall, winter is much larger. Okay. So the overall spread of fall, winter is much larger than spring, summer, with a range of 8.25 miles per hour compared to only 5.5 miles per hour for spring, summer. So that has a lot of different information, right? I covered all my socks. I use comparison words. You do not want to write a paragraph for one and then write one for another. You need to mesh them together. So this is a perfect example. If you did not write this last sentence, you would be okay. For AP students, I think that you would want to write this last sentence on an AP exam because it gives a better visual and you can actually see how much more spread out things are. Okay? All right, so remember when you are describing, if both are symmetric, you're going to use the mean and standard deviation. If either of them are skewed or both are skewed, you're going to use median and IQR. But remember, for box plot, you're always going to use median and IQR. Okay?